Alright, hello everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about the dot reduce array method and how we can use it to make our JavaScript much simpler, easier, and accomplish a lot of things in fewer lines of code. So let's have a look at what dot reduce actually does. Oops, zoomed in a bit too much. So let's say we have an array and that array is called numbers, right? And the problem that I want to put to you is how would we add all of those numbers up? So what we could do, for example, is we could access each index in the numbers and then add them all up. The issue with doing this, however, is that we may not know how many values, how many elements are actually in the array. So a better way to do this is if we loop through the array, go into index 0, grab that number, add it, and then go into index 1, add that number, add it to the previous, so that would be 1 plus 2, and then we go into index 2, and then we add the previous value, which would be 3 to 5, which would make 8. And then we keep doing this regardless of how many indexes there are. So what we could do is we could create our own array. We could create our own for loop and do this. But something that's really cool in JavaScript is that we have an array method that does this for us, so we don't have to create our own for loop, and it is called the dot reduce method. So with dot reduce, we're gonna first start with an accumulator. In general, the accumulator's default value will be 0. Sometimes it might be 1 depending what you're doing inside the actual reduce, because you have to pass in reduce a callback function. So what's going to happen is we're going to start with an accumulator, which is 0, and then we'll go into index 0, which has a value of 1, and then we will add 0 to 1, which will be 1. And then once we've done that, we'll go into index 2 and add our current accumulated value, which is 1. We'll add 2 to 1, which then becomes 3. Now our current accumulated value is 3, and then we will add 3 to 5, and it will keep going on until we get to the end of our array and our total value is 14. So let me show you how this code actually looks when we implement it. Right, so here we go. Here we have an array. It's the exact same array. We have an initial value, which we're not using right now, and then we have our array dot reduce. As you can see here, we put in a built-in, we give it a callback function. This callback function will have the accumulator, so this will be the number that will stay the same and will be returned at the end. And then we have whatever the current value is. So if I, for example, add a 7, that will equal 21. Now, can we do the same thing if we want to subtract the value? Yes, all we have to do is just change the return. So we can change the return to subtract, and now we get minus 19. Can we do the same thing if we want to times the value? Yes, we can. And also if we want to divide the value. So it will take all the numbers within that array and do whatever we want with it, depending on whatever callback function we send. So now a good question is, well, what if I wanted my value not to start at 0? I want my value to start at 10, so the thing about the reduce function, so here it is, dot reduce, it actually takes in 2 values. The first one is the callback function, but then the second value will be whatever number you want to initially start with. So for example, here I can put an initial start, or I can put in 0. Actually, maybe it'll be easier to follow if I just put in 0. So I'll put in 0. Now I can change this to 1. So now my accumulator starts at 1, and every time it goes through the array, it adds the values and it will get to 15. Now obviously I can set this to 10, right? So where you need to watch out, and it might get a bit tricky, is when you're doing multiplication. So what do you think will happen if I switch this plus from a plus to a times? Okay, so the thing that's going to happen is I'm going to get 0. So it's looped through my whole entire array and it's giving me 0. The reason that is obviously because, well, 1 times 0 is 0, and then that becomes that's the accumulator, and then 2 times 0 is 0, and it's the accumulator still at 0, and it keeps going on. So you have to watch out. So here you want to put a 1, or you just want to leave it blank. That's the end of my video. If you liked it, please leave a like, and also subscribe. I'm going to try to make more videos where I explain JavaScript, look more at array methods and different ways how you can get better at your JavaScript. Thank you, and of course, have a nice day.